Hi guys, welcome back. So what a thrilling match. 31 points to South Africa, 29 to New Zealand. A brilliant end to the Rugby Championship. I really enjoyed this match. I thought both sides played a lot better than last week. Let me know if you think I'm getting too excited and it wasn't quite all that, but I thought it had everything, worthy of a kind of amazing World Cup final type match. But anyway, loads to talk about here, so let's get straight into it. And I thought maybe the sides had set up their stalls early. In the first few minutes, we had South Africa with a big high ball, a big driving maul. New Zealand running the ball from deep, and I thought maybe that's the pattern we'll get through the whole game, a bit like last week. But actually, no, it didn't quite work out like that. South Africa certainly had a more varied attacking game than last week, which is great to see, and they look good doing it. New Zealand at times, absolute genius, but also a little bit fragile in areas. Anyway, 3 minutes in, Pollard gets a big penalty, 40 metres out on the angle, but well wide, never even close. And then Severe makes a good turnover a couple of minutes later. New Zealand try to run it again from deep, but this time it's their undoing. Poor passing, and their passing hasn't been amazing throughout this Rugby Championship at times, even though obviously they do, when they put it together, it's pretty impressive. But South Africa sweep on it. Around the back pass to Diolande. We have not seen that before for a long time. Absolute genius. He goes over. 5-0. Don't get the kick. And the kicking, at times wasn't great in this game again at goal. But 5-0, what a start. But an immediate strike back from New Zealand. Roll straight up to the 22. Get a penalty. Knock it over. 5-3. So the game started with a real bang and it carries on in that manner. 10 minutes in, South Africa running decent phases in the middle of the pitch, and they did that for the whole game. I really like their phases. They were making good ground, mixing it up between the big ball carriers and some out-the-back balls going wide. They look really good in the phases, but in this first half, especially when they get close to the 22, they still launch the bomb, and I just don't think they need to because they're such a good side. Anyway, there's a penalty, it goes to 8-3. It was a blocking offence from New Zealand, and that's probably it to try and guard the back three against the bomb because the wingers especially struggled last week. But South Africa go up 8-3. And another immediate response from New Zealand. And wow, this one is an absolute worldie. It's a bad drop from Willie LaRue, and he had a bit of a poor game, to be honest. Can have that sometimes. And then a genius of a cross-field kick from Beauden Barrett to Sevu Reece, who slides and ducks in as he normally does. That's what he's so good at, squirming and sneaking and sliding. 8-8. Brilliant game again. Conversion miss. Like I said, not some great kicking at times until the end of the game. New Zealand have definitely come to run the ball, especially off South African errors. It's exciting. And already we've seen some really good turnovers, some really good jackals, Khaleesi in particular. And South Africa were absolutely ferocious at the breakdown, as you'd expect them to be, but they got some real joy with turnovers, with counter-rucks. Great stuff. I mean, there was literally every facet of play in this game. The mix of styles I thought was excellent. Anyway, back into the game, 18 minutes in, South Africa going through more good running phases in the middle of the park. They're looking great into the 22, but then kicking the ball or get away again. That was getting frustrating because they were looking the best side and they just kick those chances away. I really think they need to keep it in hand a bit more. And to be fair, they do improve that throughout the game. Anyway, a couple of minutes later, Etzebeth. Brilliant line-out steal. He's been an absolute beast for South Africa for the whole of this season. Mbonambi goes on a steamroller of a run, just slicing through Akira Ioane like he's not there. Very impressive. And he gets so close to the line, he gets too excited. Instead of retaining the ball, he lunges for the line and loses it. And indeed, in this first half, as you can tell already, I think South Africa have been playing really well and they would probably want a few more points from all that territory and possession. So that was a bit of a killer there. It's just another case in point. A couple of minutes later, South African line-out maul pushes them deep into New Zealand territory, but then they deliberately slow it down and put up the bomb again. Stop doing it. You're playing so well. Anyway, 23 minutes, South African midfield phases continue and they're putting New Zealand under so much pressure. There's a penalty in front of goal. They do get some points for a period of dominance, 11-8. A deserved lead certainly at that point. Just 1 minute later, Beauden Barrett puts up a massive spiral bomb. And New Zealand kicked the ball a lot, don't get me wrong. They tended to kick the ball from within their own half in that middle of the park area. When they get into the 22, they don't tend to kick the ball particularly. But this spiral bomb from Beauden Barrett, all sorts of problems. Poor old Willie LaRue, another drop. In fact, LaRue gets hauled off towards the end of the game anyway, not surprising. But they actually mucks up a broken field attacking chance for New Zealand. And it's a cracking pace and intensity to the game. I'm really enjoying it. A little bit of everything. And indeed, 3 minutes later, just the best part of the game, I think. And off the top line out from New Zealand, nice and slick, hits Beauden Barrett, and just sheer individual brilliance. Feet and pace to make the break. Offload to Rico Ioane, showing more pace to slip another couple of tackles. He gets an offload inside to Ardie Savea. Lovely dive as well. Just a beautiful try. You don't get much better than that. And it's moments like this that make you think, wow, maybe the All Blacks are definitely the best side in the world, but they have their weaknesses. Anyway, it's 11 points to 15. New Zealand in the lead. South Africa continuing to play some rugby in the middle of the park. It's much more exciting. But on 31 minutes, Jordie Barrett fields a long kick and slices straight through the middle of the park. He had another great game, Jordie Barrett, surely cementing his place as a starting 15 for New Zealand. Links up with Leonard Brown, but then a fantastic textbook sliding cover tackle from Nkosi, pushes his feet into touch. Just a brilliant game of rugby. Then on 32 minutes, a real sneaky try from Webber. Normally a very safe front ball for South Africa is spoiled by Scott Barrett, and he gets up fairly late, but he still spoils it. Maybe the throw could have been better. And indeed, they change hookers. Marks comes in later in the game, possibly because of this sort of thing. But Webber snaffles it up, sneaks in down the touchline, 11 points to 20. It's looking like a New Zealand is starting to stretch away. The Barrett brothers on fire at this point. And indeed, a few minutes later, South Africa replaced their whole front row, trying to fix maybe that line out as well. And, with 1 minute to go before half-time, you think, well, this is a bit strange, but it works straight away, and it does have an impact for the rest of the game. So hats off to South Africa for making that change. So it was Mark's really good line out, launches a good midfield running attack again. They get a penalty, knock it over, 14 points to 20 at half-time. Brilliant game. Still in the balance, absolutely loving it. And indeed, in the second half, that new front row straight away seems to be doing the job. Scrum penalty, go to a 10-metre line out. Marks takes it up, a few phases, they're 5 metres out. Win a penalty, 17-20, chip back into this game very nicely. And South Africa have a serious period of about 20 minutes of almost complete dominance. Their counter-ruck is absolutely beastly, and they're stopping New Zealand's attack, stopping their momentum, and it's getting intimidating. Staines in at fullback, and straight away a monster 50-22, absolutely brilliant. Gives him a 10-metre line out, big drive, big forward carries, out wide to Mapimpi, try, brilliantly built up try. A goal kicking not the best, as I mentioned again, but they're in the lead 22-20. So what a great comeback from 11-20 down, now 22-20 very early in the second half. They continue dominant, South Africa. Their defence is the key to this, pushing New Zealand back. New Zealand look a bit too desperate to find the gap. Maybe they've found the gap a bit too easy in previous games. They're going to side. They're not hitting it up at all. They're going lateral or backwards. South Africa win the penalty, go deep into the 22. They look like they're all over New Zealand, 5 metres out. But then, unfortunately, Khaleesi looks like he's knocked out cold. That's not nice. I hope he's going to be okay. But they do get a penalty from that huge pressure, go up 25-20, well-deserved lead at this point. Steyn continues his massive kicks, it almost hits like a 60-metre grubber kick, which is pretty impressive. The guy's got a huge boot. Then on 60 minutes, I made a note here, New Zealand have been shut out for this whole 20 minutes of the second half, and it just makes New Zealand panic a bit here. Beauden Barrett goes for a bit of a crazy crossfield kick straight into touch on their own 22, gifts possession to South Africa 5 metres out. But Ardy Surveyor, what a fantastic player, saved the day with a jackal. So they're living dangerously here, fingernail stuff. New Zealand finally get a decent phase of play going. The subs, like Amoa, making an impact, get a 5-metre line out, go for a bit of a cute front ball without jumping, but Kitsoff reads it and South Africa clear. So that was a pretty big moment there. But anyway, back to South Africa. They're still on top. They're all over New Zealand in defence and midfield again. It's going to be a thrilling last 10-15 minutes. Then a bit of fortune for New Zealand. Steyn runs into Geordie Barrett after a kick. They get a penalty for that. Was it, wasn't it? I'm not sure, to be honest. Let me know what you think. But they get the penalty where the ball lands miles up the pitch, puts them in kicking range, and indeed Geordie Barrett comes over, smashes over the penalty, 25-23. So into the last 10 minutes, it's a titanic back and forth, the game breaking up a bit, incredible physicality. New Zealand finally break out of the shackles of the South African defence, pin South Africa on their own line, and New Zealand is just desperate to speed up the pace of the game, avoiding lineouts wherever possible. And South Africa seems to have snuffed out all the attack again with Big D, but no, New Zealand get a penalty. There's blood everywhere, it's a fierce contest. New Zealand knock it over, 25-26, they take the lead. Unbelievable stuff. 4 minutes to go. Have New Zealand sneaked it again? Well, no, it doesn't look like it. Just 1 minute later, we have a long-range drop goal from Elton Jantjies, and it's over. Unbelievable. 28-26, is he the hero? Well, no, maybe it's Geordie Barrett, because he comes back, a really hard kick at goal. He nails it. 28-29. Then we have a penalty to South Africa. What do? Do they go for a long-range shot at goal? But no, Steyn boots it down into the 22. Line out, big maul. They go wide and New Zealand are offside. And the refs have been hot and offside all this tournament. Thinking back to the game before against Australia, just hands in front of the line was offside. They're getting very hot on it. They've been told to watch out for it. And Elton Jantjies has a shot straight in front of the post, knocks it over, and yes, he is the hero after all. 31-29, what a great game, pulsating. Both sides much improved from last week, but still down to the death. South Africa, their defence was epic at times, their ruck contest as well, and their running phases in the middle of the park were excellent. But I just think they need to cut down on those bombs when they get into the 22, because they don't need it. They are such good players. New Zealand, the positives, just attacking genius. They can score from anywhere and they can score some of the best tries you've seen. But on the negative, they probably lost every other facet of the game. They didn't have the control of the territory. It was a bit harem-scarum, so they're going to have to front up as well. Anyway, guys, I'll do a review on the whole championship a bit later in the week, but let me know what you thought of this game, if you thought it was as good as I thought it was, and I will catch you next time.